All right, what's up, everybody? We're going to have a little unique episode tonight for some people. Might be tuning in on Living Fully Loaded, doing a little cross-promotion here. Let y'all get a taste of the ag side a little more, which, you know, me and you have done there's several American Farmer episodes up, and they actually did really well.
Yeah, where I was a guest of yours on Living Fully Loaded.
Yeah, that's where you got to taste the podcast world.
Yeah. You lit a fire under me.
So, yeah, if you're tuning in on Living Fully Loaded, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. You get to hear more of the ag side of things, and maybe you'll want to become a regular listener of Talk Dirt to Me.
Yeah. So, yeah, Talk Dirt to me is where we sit here and I guess we talk dirt.
Yeah, Talk Dirt. Yep. For our normal listeners on Talk Dirt to Me, here we are. Glad. Hope you've had a good one. It's a good evening on this one tonight.
Yeah, doing an evening recording back to where I think you and I both enjoy the evening.
Yeah.
Evening recording a little better than the 4:30 a.m.
It's a good beverage on that evening one.
Yeah. I love my morning coffee, but yeah, have a little nightcap. Right.
Yeah.
Here.
Man, see, I can't hardly do the morning coffee I learned the hard way from one of our episodes that the morning, that early of a morning coffee kind of sits weird on me. Like I was real jittered and anxious.
Well, actually, it's funny you say that. Because last week we recorded in the morning.
Yep.
And so, I started drinking coffee at like 4:15 that morning. And I remember, I don't know what time it was. It was probably 9 or 10 o'clock at work. And I was talking to one of my assistants and I was like, yep. I can tell I've drank way too much coffee because I'm talking way too much and too fast. And I think she was just looking at me like, yep.
Yeah. Yeah, you drank some coffee or snorted something.
Yeah, because my thing is once I get up, I used to drink a glass of water kind of first thing, and then it's nothing but coffee. And unless I have both hands full with something, I have
a cup in one hand,
a coffee cup or a mug or whatever.
Yeah. Even if you're like checking a dog's anus, you still got a coffee cup in this hand.
Oh yeah. But I need one of those like it's one of those beer helmets. Yeah, with this. Yeah, I could just. But
you might be onto something there.
Yeah, that probably would be a bad idea. I'm just waiting for like the doctor to tell me like, all right, how much caffeine do you drink?
Yeah.
Which coffee is the only caffeine I consume. I mean,
yeah.
I don't.
Do you drink any sweet tea?
Well, yeah. Damn it. I don't very often because like my wife doesn't make tea. Like our grandmother made awesome sweet tea.
Oh yeah.
Like I've never been able to replicate like that sweet tea. But like if I go out to a restaurant for lunch, which I don't do very often, but as I say that, I sit here every other week. I meet one of our reps, one of our salesmen.
Yeah.
And we eat lunch together, and so
get you a sweet tea.
Yeah, if I'm going to sit down at a restaurant, I'm either going to drink a beer or drink tea.
Yeah.
At noon, whenever I've got to go back to work,
a beer.
Yeah, the tea's a little more appropriate. So.
O'Doul's.
Yeah.
You could have an O'Doul's.
I don't know about that, man. I heard somebody, we were somewhere, I think we were fishing, and somebody was like, give me a beer. And like, you want to know O'Doul's? It's like, that's like having sex with your clothes on.
That would be. I've never had one. Have you ever had one?
I think I had a Bush NA one time.
Bush NA? Non-alcoholic?
It's a non-alcoholic. It's like a lesser known of the non-alcoholic beers. Yeah, it's just like, I don't know. I do enjoy the taste of beer, but yeah, I don't know that I...
Did it taste like beer?
It's been so long ago.
Do they still make that?
As far as I know, like there's the only two non-alcoholic beers I know of are O'Doul's and Bush NA.
I've never even heard of Bush NA.
Well, there's really no need for it.
It sounds like it. Yeah, the O'Doul's either. I can't understand. When I hear O'Doul's, I always think of Billy Madison.
I don't even remember the reference from that movie.
There's that like kid in his class that's a butthole when he goes back to school. I think he like dumps food or does something. And he always goes, O'Doyle rules.
Oh yeah. No, yeah.
So it's not the beer's not in there.
Okay, okay. So, I definitely remember that.
O'Doyle rules. O'Doyle rules.
Yeah.
But I've never had non-alcoholic beer. I'm not a big beer guy, but I like my whiskey here. Which it's actually, see, dude, it's kind of funny. So I'm not a believer in coincidence. And so this podcast was meant to happen for a couple reasons. Because normally, like I had kind of contemplated having a glass of whiskey earlier in the evening. We got in, my wife had cooked some meatloaf and mac and cheese, one of my favorites, my go-to. And with, ate that, and the kids, we ate early, cause I wasn't able to cut. So the kids they ate quick, and I said, if y'all eat quick, we'll go get some ice cream. So we went and got some ice cream. When we got back, man, I was full. I was ready to have a glass of bourbon.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm going to have one. And then I said, nah, we're going to podcast tonight. I'll wait and have that glass when we podcast.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a drink. Well, then I was getting ready for the podcast, and just randomly, I was like, I guess I should check the weather. And I just pulled my weather app up and saw the freaking, like, out of nowhere. I mean, I had looked at the weather today. No chance of rain from what I saw. Suddenly, 30 minutes from the time, like when I looked at it, in 30 minutes, it was like an 80% chance or 70% chance of rain. So I had to drive. So it was a good thing, man, because I would have had that glass of bourbon. I'd have been half lit, and I'd have had to figure something out.
Because truck was what, about 20, 30 minutes from here?
It was a good, 20. I mean, I might have been accelerating a little quickly, but it was a 20-minute drive.
Well, so y'all weren't able to cut beans today?
No, I tried. I cut. So we got out there, and
I'm trying to even think. Okay, so today is Tuesday. It rained Saturday. Did it rain some Sunday too?
Yeah, it was kind of misty and stuff. Yeah.
So y'all hadn't been able to run since the rain?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, which I had cut. I'm down to about 150 acres is what I got left. And
did y'all get to cut some on Saturday though?
Yes, I cut 30 acres Saturday.
I say, because the rain, it took it forever to get here.
Yeah.
We left town Saturday, and so at noon when we left, the sun was still shining. I was like, it was supposed to rain today. And it was beautiful when we left.
Well, that's how, Friday night was kind of funny. I mean, the kids, I had already told Marcy, I said, we'll do a date night. And the kids were spending the night with my parents, and we were going to go eat. Well, I was cutting beans, but we had planned date night. I'd been looking in the weather. It was going to rain. But she was like, we'll just reschedule. You need to cut beans. Just cut the beans. It's fine. But I was like, no, I've already said we're going to do a date night, so I've got to come in. We're going to do a date night. And it ended up working out pretty good because we were going to eat. I came in from cutting beans, and I lacked like 2 acres of beans on this farm, but my driver he had hauled the load. And so he wasn't back yet. And I told him, I said, I'll be gone when you get back. But I told him, I said, but if there's any way I can, I'm going to try to convince.
You had everything loaded. You couldn't.
Yeah. The buggy was like exploding over with, I had it like, you couldn't have put a basket of beans on that thing. And so I told him, I was like, I will be gone. But I said, I'm going to do my damnedest to get down here tonight and finish this field and load your truck. So I said, you can haul it in the morning. So we were going to go out to eat. We were headed to Covington. We were going to hit up one of our local establishments. Yep. I was like, we don't have to go to Memphis. So we were going into Covington, and Marcy was like, we could have just ordered something and eaten it on the combine if you need to go back to the field. And I was like, that sounds wonderful. So that's what we did. We called round 2 up there and got us some burgers, took them to the field, ate in the truck, and then hopped in the combine.
I'll give them a shout out. I think they have the best burger in at least South Tipton County.
It is very good. And man, it's a big whopping burger.
That's like days when I get hung at the office, because I try to run home at lunch every day, especially this time of year because our days are so short. Like I check cows on my lunch break, but on days when I get hung and I can't get home, that's one of my 2 or 3 go-tos. I'll call them and burger and burger, crinkle fries, and my damn sweet tea. I get that extra caffeine that I thought
I did get a sweet tea. Yeah.
And there's a couple other local joints. Yeah, because your initial thought is I need a quick lunch. I'm gonna hit one of these drive-throughs, one of these chain restaurants. But now it's not for a burger and fries.
15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes.
What?
Oh, you're talking about the price?
Right. Well, and I call ahead, and they got a little drive-through window actually.
Yeah.
And then it's by the time you go to McDonald's, you'd have spent just as much, or right there at it, and it wouldn't have been half as good. So.
Yeah. Oh man, no, yeah, for sure. Well, that's what we ended up doing. We got it, and we sat in the truck and ate, and we hopped in the combine, and I finished cutting, loaded up the trucks, and tried to get her to christen the combine, but she wasn't having it. So
I'm a little disappointed.
I know. Well,
my wife, if I'd even mentioned that, she'd have gotten out.
I think she had to have known that it was coming, because I was kind of like, look how...
my wife would have probably known it was coming,
yeah,
but it still would have made her mad.
Well, I was like, look how spacious the cab is. Because, I mean, my 9770, it didn't have... The cab was much smaller. Like, it was... You don't realize the size difference of the cabs until, like, those S-Series. Man, it's a big difference. And so, yes... And it smells clean. Like I keep this combine sweeped out. I'm like one of them. I sweep it out at the end of the day. Yeah. And so it was very clean. The other combine stunk in there because Dad had left dead mice in there for like years. And so this combine doesn't stink. It's clean. It's spacious. So I was like, look how clean it is. It's so spacious. And she was like, it's not happening. And I'm like, come on.
That's like what I remember, like in high school, everybody wanted to be sure you had the truck with the bench seat. Yeah. And like the few people who had like an SUV, they're like, oh yeah, you can lay down that back seat. But yeah.
Well, that's dang, it didn't happen. I know.
I don't even know what you call that club.
I don't either.
Just the Combine Club. I don't know.
There's got to be some good name, because what is it on the airplane? The Mile High Club.
Yeah.
I don't know what you'd call that, the Field Row Club. I don't know. That's an interesting one to think of. Well, I have to do some research into that.
Yeah.
I'm on it, because that's a club I want to join.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a farmer.
I don't have a combine, so I don't know that I could.
Do you want to, what about
I also don't have a willing wife, so I doubt it would ever happen anyway.
I feel like if I play my cards right, I might can try to make this one happen.
Okay.
But it just wasn't for that night.
The audience have to stay tuned.
Yeah, you have to stay tuned. I mean, as a veterinarian, do you want to I feel like everybody in their profession, it's like a firefighter probably wants to do it in the fire truck. As a vet, do you want to do it on like an operating table?
I've never really had that fantasy. It's no, and we have cameras everywhere, so.
Well, that's true. Your coworkers might get a.
Well, I don't know if they have access to, but the owner, the group of the owners, yeah, it's.
So your brother and your dad.
Yeah, like anybody who has access. Well, I guess to the main office, yeah. So, which on that subject, and it wasn't at our office, but I won't reveal too many details. But a family member of ours who owns an office space, and well, kind of like we do, has a janitor crew that comes in and cleans. Either at night or early in the morning. They had to run in. I think it was just real early one morning when their crew was there.
Yeah.
And the cleaning crew was
getting it on.
Was christening.
What?
I believe the couch in the waiting room.
What?
Yeah.
Some of our family members.
Well, I won't.
Let me make a note. I'll ask you about this off air then.
They call it their cleaning crew. It was just a hilarious story.
Was this recently?
No, it's really not been that recent. Like,
okay.
But I'll you know who it is, but it's I just thought that was funny because of course they're there and it's after hours, or in that case maybe before hours, and I think they even had like music while they're cleaning and whatnot.
Oh, they're cleaning.
Right. Well, it's the same thing. Like sometimes I pop in on our crew, and usually it's like after I leave like one of my dogs at the office because my kid has a t-ball game or something. So I swing back by there, and like I don't want to scare them. I'm like, hey,
You're like, if you're cracking in there, I'm coming in.
And I've never had that thought, but after knowing, I probably should. Which thankfully, because obviously we have animals in our waiting room, we don't have like couches.
Yeah.
And so it's all.
Jeez. That is hilarious.
You couldn't improvise and still, find a romantic place.
Yeah.
But,
man. That is hilarious.
But yeah, I don't. That was kind of off subject. But
well, I'll tell you. So we did have some excitement. So all that to say.
So yeah, you haven't really gotten much more harvested because we recorded a day late last week. No,
we recorded on Friday.
Yeah, so we were a day late.
I think.
Yeah,
or Thursday. I think it was Friday.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
I think we went a morning late last week. So you really hadn't gotten. You got about a day and a half worth of being since we last.
I mean,
recorded.
and I've got, like I said, 150-ish acres left, but it's in like 6 fields. So so this was like it's always
That's
a grind
of the farming we do around here.
It is, man. That's the grind at the every year at the end. Like you're like the end is in sight, but it just seems like it is so far away because there's so much moving. But when I finish up, I've got several farms on that side of the highway that I'm on, and once I finish them, I am down to 60 acres. And they're all within a mile radius of each other. So I'll finish up where I'm at, move across the highway, and then hopefully in about a day and a half I'll be done on that. But yeah, it was too wet. Tried it, but we had some excitement on Saturday.
Oh, God. See, I hadn't. Yeah, I don't guess I really even talked to you.
Yeah, well, you've seen the excitement.
Okay. Yeah.
Anybody that follows my LH Farms YouTube channel, you've seen what happened, the aftermath.
Yeah.
Well, so Saturday, I went to bed Friday night. I mean, I didn't even set an alarm. I was like, because the kids spent the night at my parents'. Marcy and I, we watched Lost. We've been watching Lost. We've almost finished it, which I'm kind of dreading because everybody says the ending ruins. I mean, it's 6 seasons long, so I'm like dreading that this is going to ruin the 6 seasons we've put in. But we watched Lost pretty late. So, I mean, I was like no intention of getting up and working because I said it's going to be raining by 8 o'clock is what my phone was showing when I last looked. Man, I get up. I still woke up like 7 o'clock. I was like sleeping in, but I looked. It was like rain beginning around 2:45. I'm like, geez. And then my truck driver calls me because he went in at like 5 and went ahead and hauled that load to Hales Point. He calls about 9 o'clock and he says, man, what you want to try to cut today? And I said, man, I don't know. I said, I wasn't really going to, but I said, looking at it, I don't think it's going to rain. And he said, man, no, not till, he said, only supposed to rain till this afternoon. I said, hell. I said, where are you? And he's like, man, I'm almost back. And I said, all right, I'll meet you there. So we went and we got moved. Well, all right. So before we moved, we're at the field. And I mean, he's been a great farmhand. So I guess in no way it's like attacking him. Cause I mean, shit happens on the farm. That's just what happens. Well, when it's going to rain, I always kind of park everything in preparation. And
where you can get it out of the field. Yeah.
Well, that and like on the grain buggy, you extend the auger over so that rain doesn't run down the auger. You tarp up the buggy. The reason Bobby Lee and I had to start recording about 25 minutes later than we were planning to tonight because I just had to drive to Bolton and tarp. Well, I had it all set up. And he got there, and I said, I'm going to run and open the gates at the place we're headed. You can unload the buggy into the truck. He said, all right, 10-4. So I go do that, get back. I'm backing up to the header trailer. He hooks me up. I get out of the truck, and he just is looking at me. And he looks like somebody just kicked his dog. And he goes, man, I effed up. And I said, uh-oh. And he goes, I forgot to put the GD auger down. And I look over there, and that stack is just bent back on my semi. And I'm like, oh, man.
When he was pulling up parallel to the buggy, the stack caught the auger.
You can't, when you load it, you always got to leave the auger folded until you get past that stack.
I can hear our dads saying it now. It's because you got them damn big-ass stacks.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Which, I mean, for the bad thing is, when I first put them on there, they were about 2 foot longer. I actually cut 2 foot off of them.
Okay.
But, Yeah, man. And I wasn't even mad. I mean, hell, man, it happens. Like
Well, it wasn't like catastrophic. I mean,
no, it just bent, like, it could have been bad. Like the bracket on the cab that's made onto the truck, if it had ripped it off, that'd have been pretty damn terrible, because then the truck would have to be like taken into a body shop. Luckily, that looks fine. It just, it wrecked the bracket on the pipe, bent the pipe back. I mean, there's no salvaging it. It's about $1,000 repair. Like, I'm going to have to order a stack, and those 7-inch stack, nobody has them, because nobody's, like your average farm truck ain't running 7-inch stacks. Like they're bare bones. Yes. And so, nobody has that one. It's like a 2 to 6 week shipping period. It just looks bad. But yeah, he was sick, man. He was sick. And I told him, I said, dude, it happens. I said, the guy that helps us. I said, he jackknifed a planter tractor one time and ripped all the hoses off of the planter and cost probably $4,500 worth of hydraulic damage to the planter. I said, this is nothing nearly like that. I
tear up shit all the time. Yeah.
So that's the recent excitement. But yes,
if that's the worst thing that happens to you during harvest, you'll take it every year.
Exactly. Absolutely. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
So yeah, y'all are still just trying to inch along. How's Circle H coming?
I think what did he tell me? I think he's got like 400 or so to go. I'm going to tell you, and I told Dad, we were talking, have you noticed there's a lot of beans in the field still? Have you gone around and seen that?
No, I know, just generally.
Yes.
Yeah. But heck, it's November 1st.
But it's fields that typically are already harvested or not. And I talked to a guy today, and he was telling me that we were talking, because it's been a very dry, it's been dry.
Like, you're right. Yeah. Given the weather conditions we've had, you might think people would be a little further along, but I assume it's still because they can't get delivered grain.
Can't get delivered. I think that things are getting a little better because some people are getting done, but the grain storage has been the lifesaver. I told Dad that. I was like,
did you get your bagger?
No, I ended up not having to.
Okay.
Hales Point was rolling, so I was like, they got to rolling again. I missed one day, and but then Hales Point was going, so I was
I have driven by where you had said you were going to set up the bagger a few times. I'm like, well, I don't see any bags out there yet.
Yeah. No, and then it got to the point where I only had like 250 acres to go at the time, and I was like, ain't no point in bothering with it now. But that's what I told Dad. I said that the grain bins was the saving grace for them, because there's guys, like, there's an operation, I won't say their name, but there's an operation. They're decent size. I think they work 4,000 acres. Now, they own a bunch of it. It's a very good ground. But somebody told me today that they had only harvested 1,100 acres, and like right now, because they've got several trucks, and where they're having to take them to, they're all tied up. By the time they get back, they're able to load those trucks, and then it's too late to send them back. So they're only getting to haul. They're hauling like 3 or 4 loads a day, but that's it. And where in a normal year, they might haul 8. They might haul them, they get back, and then haul another. Like, so.
Yeah.
So they're hauling half.
Trips, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. And I'll give props. Like, my driver, man, he's a freaking hammer down man. Like, he hauled 3 loads. Like, Dad was kind of bragging about them. He said, man, we cut 4 loads out of the river bottom or something the other day. And I'm like, my driver by himself hauled 3 to Hales Point. Like, he's shagging ass. So, but yeah, it's interesting. It's been an interesting year.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. Well, the end's in sight, it looks like, or it sounds like.
Yeah. It always slows down. It always feels like you get to kind of a creep towards the end.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're right. You get down to the patches, and takes longer to do all the short rows than it does to do one long row.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
All right. Well, good deal. Well, you say we had some listener questions?
Yeah,
week?
we do. We do. We got let's see here. If we haven't gotten to a question of yours and you've sent us one, send it again because, man, I'm going to be honest with you. I have like 7,000 emails in my email. Like Marcy, she like freaks out when she sees my email.
Your inbox.
Yeah. I mean, it's seriously probably about 7,000 emails in there. So I got one here. So I say that to say, if we haven't gotten to it now, last month was a different month. We were doing the Halloween thing. Hope everybody had a very happy and safe Halloween. All right. So Lance, one of our phones was picking up. I don't know. Probably mine. All right. Lance Morton writes in. He says, "Hey guys, I am a part-time young cattle farmer from East Tennessee. I love the podcast and listen every Thursday when it drops. I know in the past you all have talked about using FSA loans to get started purchasing equipment and land. I have used these resources myself for different things. Logan mentioned in one episode the purchase of a trackhoe through the FSA program. I recently contacted my FSA agent about the purchase of a trackhoe to use for farm clearing/cleanup because some of my land is overgrown from past neglect by others. I was turned down and told FSA doesn't loan for construction type equipment, even if it is going to be used for farming activities. I was just curious on what program, if any, something like this could be purchased through. Keep up the great work on both podcasts and YouTube channels. Thanks for taking my question." Appreciate your question, Lance. That's a good question. So,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know obviously I've used them for land purchases like we both have, and then I've used them for operating loans. I don't know if you somehow do it. I don't know, because they're so picky on stuff like that. They want to know every detail of how you're going to spend the money. I don't know. Do you have a better answer?
well, for one, I'm a little confused why they would turn him down, because I bought my trackhoe I bought it through FSA.
Okay.
I did buy it through them. Now, this was back when our friend Steve was there.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest, he was a hell of a lot better than the one that I had to deal with lately. Steve would help you. He would help us out. And I'm kind of learning more and more. I think he did help us out on some things. So, I mean, that may be the case there, but here is my suggestion. I actually have zero ties with FSA anymore. I have completely eliminated any loans that I have with FSA.
Yeah, like they're a good option if you got the time, the patience, plenty of pencils.
For the very first purchase, they're a one and done. And that was the thing I learned the hard way with them.
Yeah.
When you go back and you make multiple purchases, especially land. So here's where it gets dangerous with FSA. If you go in and you buy land with FSA, the first time you don't have anything, so they can't stick their claws into anything. When you get in trouble is when you go back and you use their young farmers loan to buy some more land, because then they take a second out on the other farms and they like spread out their grasp. So the bad thing is if you go and buy a trackhoe through them, they're going to also sink their claws into the trackhoe.
They're going to have a lien on everything else.
Everything. Yeah. And they never want to let it go. I mean, they don't like to let it go. And yeah, so Ag Direct or Farm Credit. I mean, we've both talked about Farm Credit. That's who I would actually look towards.
Yeah, I have used them most recently for equipment loans.
Ag Direct or Farm Credit?
Farm Credit. Who is Ag Direct associated with?
Farm Credit.
Okay, I was about to say.
Now, Farm Credit has there is Farm Credit, but they also they have Ag Direct.
Like once you've got a relationship already with Farm Credit, which I have multiple things, even outside of my farm with them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally like a text message or two. And I mean, I even have the app. I used it when I bought a hay baler this last year. And
Yeah.
Our guy that we deal with there, he was like, "Hey, use the app. Like, just try it out." It was kind of new, and so I went through that. Like, literally, I mean, it was my 4-year-old could have done it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I bought a Ferrari with them.
yeah, they're really. I mean, just write it off, man.
Yeah, exactly. No, they really are. That is the way I would go.
They're probably not going to have the sweet thing with FSA is the terms, and I don't know so much on equipment about the terms, but like the interest rate is just stupid low.
Yes.
Which like right now, yeah, that might be a big selling point. But in terms of ease of getting things done, I mean, it's not even comparable.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about like 2 weeks worth of paperwork versus literally like, I always talk about, because the last farm I bought was split between Farm Credit and Farm Service Agency.
Yeah.
And my Farm Credit side was like, literally, I made like one phone call and he was like, "Yeah, you're good to go." And with FSA, it was like 6 weeks of paperwork. Then the government shut down for like 6 more weeks.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
It was when they were, whatever, we were but they weren't passed, whatever. The federal government shut down because of budget BS, whatever. And it was just like we were confident it was going to go through, like whenever the government ever decided to go back to work. But it was just.
That was when they couldn't agree on the budget, right?
Yeah, this would have been, I don't even remember.
18?
But it's all a damn dog and pony show, because I remember watching them, like they were shutting down like all the national monuments and everything. And they were like, some of these monuments, like literally there's nothing to even keep them open. Like they spent more money shutting them down than it would have cost just to have kept them open.
Yeah.
Like because they set up like all these barricades and whatnot, like literally like this monument, it's just like there's a garbage can there that like they have to pay somebody to empty out the public garbage can every few days. Like,
yeah.
That's it. But yeah, it's all a big show of like, oh, we're shutting up, whatever, our government.
But you used, what were you going to say?
Well, no. So yeah, the big advantage with using them is, of course, the terms can be better, and he's probably aware of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if they've told you no, and then that's probably true.
I mean, you could probably, I don't know if maybe that would only be through the young farmers deal. I mean, they offer direct ownership, I think, loans as well. I mean, you could check on those. They might want a down payment. It's going to be the difference between the young farmers loan. I honestly, I mean, I am so, at this point, I am like so removed from FSA. Yeah, I really can't.
You got kind of burnt, not burnt by them. I mean, everything turned out fine.
Yeah.
And nothing was done wrong. It's just, yeah, they were just, you kind of found out the negatives to working with them. But what I found with working with any of those government agencies, same is true of our, like NRCS, like that, you're only going to have as good of an experience as the people you have there in your local office. And I have no idea who his local county office is, not bad mouthing them at all. And maybe they're doing everything above and beyond, but the typical kind of government job, you get into some of them, and we've had some that, I mean, it's a cake job. I mean,
yeah.
And again, I paint with a broad brush, but that you definitely, when you go in the office, sometimes like it's a pretty damn laid back atmosphere up there.
Yeah, it is.
They don't hurt themselves.
Yeah.
To get stuff done.
Yeah. I mean,
and I love like our guys in RCS. I mention them because like I've had really good dealings with them over the last 3 or 4 years. Because
yeah, I don't really even lump NRCS in with FSA.
Well, it's just I think we have really good guys in our local office, and I call them, they call me right back. They get stuff done. They tell you they're going to come out and check on something, they do it. So yeah, I feel like, and that's dealing with government agencies everywhere. If you've got typical government employees that have been there years and years and they're just riding the gravy train, yeah, you're probably not going to get much done.
No, and seeing the thing that I ran into.
Didn't mean to turn this into an anti-government rant, but I use pretty much any opportunity I have to go on an anti-government rant.
Well, the thing that I think about too, like you got the guys, like you said, and it does do a lot, like Mr. Steve that used to be there. Great dude. And I mean, he really went out of his way to like streamline the process for me whenever I was doing a lot of it. And I guess, I bought the trackhoe when he was still there. And, I mean, you could tell, he ended up leaving FSA.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he passed away. He was an awesome guy and thought a lot of him, but he left FSA. And I mean, he used to tell me when he was there, he was like, man, I hate this. Like I hate working for the government. And there was no, with Farm Credit, there's other lenders. So there is that competitive thing to them that makes them try to have better rates or try to have better do this or that, because it is competitive and there's no competition when it comes to FSA because it's government. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if they have 100 loans or 100,000 loans.
Well, and everybody knows the big benefit of working with them isn't their great customer service.
Yeah.
It's the fact they can offer you a rate that just nobody else can offer.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking the difference of potentially a 2 to 3% interest rate versus 5 to 7% interest rate. Like it's a substantial interest rate difference. But man, I would urge you to look at Ag Direct, Farm Credit. I would look at one of those. It still is kind of odd to me that they won't do a trackhoe, because I mean I bought a trackhoe through them.
Yeah, I certainly can't even begin to speak to it.
Well, now, and I will say they did pull some weird stuff on me about a trackhoe. That farm I bought in Shelby County. When I bought it, I had called up there to FSA Shelby Counties, talked to them, told them I was buying this farm, would be clearing it all back to ag. They said, good to go, no trouble. I said, all right. And so then I buy it, and I bought a trackhoe, had the trackhoe delivered out there, and I'm starting to clear it. I've cleared about 5 acres, and my dad was like, you may need to just check with them one more time, just let them know what you're doing.
Which, to give a backstory, like this was all farmland that then got foreclosed on, right?
Yes.
And sat there for how long?
14 years.
And so it, in 14 years' time,
turned back into woods, pretty much. Yeah, or turned into woods,
You had a bunch of small little sapling, I say small. I don't know how big these trees are. But
oh, man, some of them are, it's like thick as hair on a dog's back. It was like.
But like little bitty trees. But it was, it isn't like you were taking forest and turning it back into farmland. You were taking farmland that grew up for 14 years and then
putting it back into farmland. Yeah. Yep. And
but the government gets kind of, which sounds wild that you would buy it, you would own it, and then they would tell you
you can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that pisses me off. I'll tell you that.
It's not like Logan didn't buy like some natural protected wetland and start like draining it, because I can. Which, I don't know, part of me, I can understand, like, if you're just destroying the ecosystem, like, and displacing all kinds of whatever. But, no, it was nothing like that.
No, I mean, this was all, and even the woods were good for nothing, because there was nothing green. It was just, it was just dirt.
Sweet gums.
Crap trees. Like, I had it timbered when I first bought it, because I was like, all right, I'm going to clear it. So I had a timber crew come in. And it was a little bit of hardwoods in there, but it wasn't many. I mean, they went through but the dude at Shelby County I called up there and I told him, I said, hey, I'm just letting you know we're clearing it. And he was like, now you're using a bush hog, right? And I was like, what? And he said, you're only using a bush hog to clear that with. And I said, no, I got a trackhoe and a bulldozer down here. And he goes, oh, no, that ain't going to work, man. That's not ag, that's construction equipment. So he tried to pull a card kind of like that. And I said, but I'm using it to put it back to ag. Like it's being used for ag purposes.
Like, and I own this.
Yeah.
You're gonna come tell me that I'm not allowed to vacuum my floor because I got to sweep it. I mean that's kind of the equivalent.
That's how I'm with you.
You can't use a vacuum in here. You got to use a broom.
Yeah. Like, well, that's the hard part with farming, because like I've got another farm I had, we did a vertical tillage and we got fined $10,000 because they were like, you can't do any tillage at the time. And I didn't know it at the time. I guess it was my fault. I should have gone up and got a plan. But yeah, they can tell you like, no, you can't do any tillage on this place. And it's And look, and like Bobby Lee said, I get it on like say if you are just wreaking havoc, but the other side of me is like, but it's mine. Like I should be able to do whatever I want to do with it.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't have to pay property taxes every year. Like, you know, like,
oh God dang.
like those, all that stuff just pisses me off.
And again, I can see both sides. Like, okay, you own this land, but it's not going to be yours forever. We don't want you destroying it from now to the end of all time. Okay. But at the same time, it is mine. Like I bought it. I stuck my neck out.
Yeah.
Anybody else could have bought it. Could have done the same thing I did.
Yep.
They didn't, you know, since I'm the one, like, I don't know. It's like,
and you know how they get you? So here's where they get you. If I could give anybody some advice, some like, you know, if you wanted to really just truly do whatever you want to do, then you need to figure out a way to farm with no ties whatsoever to any of FSA. Because even with no loans with them, I still have to go to FSA. And because now here's what you won't have, because the government subsidizes crop insurance, you know, and crop insurance, like I looked on my bill.
The government has made it where we can't function without them.
Yes.
And that's the way they want it to be. And that is true for everything, even beyond farming. I mean, that's just the reality. Like,
they got your balls in a vice as a farmer, because if you go up there and you say, it's my damn farm, I'm going to do whatever I want to do to it. They'll say, okay, you're going to pay back everything that we've subsidized. We're going to call all your loans, which now I don't have any loans. So I guess I could be like, you know, like, you know, kiss my ass. But then they'd say, okay, you're going to pay back all the subsidies on your crop insurance. And I mean, you know, the government subsidizes like, I mean, it's a lot. It's like 80% of crop insurance or something. So, I mean, they're paying the majority of crop insurance. So if you could start farming and like just, I mean, I don't know how you'd have to do it. I guess you'd talk to your crop insurance guy. I mean, I would probably recommend having crop insurance, because like this year, I'm actually going to use crop insurance on my corn, but talk to them and try to, man, if a guy came in, like there would be nothing cooler to me than a dude that like, maybe he even just, you know, he has a job, he's got deep enough pockets. He don't need the government on any of that stuff, subsidies whatsoever. And he gets like a letter in the mail and it's like FSA and they're saying, you know, you tilled highly erodible land. Like, I wish he could just like go up to FSA and like wipe his ass with the paper and hand it back to him. Like, what are you going to do about it? Like,
well, and because we're doing the crossover episode too, and may have a little bit of a non-ag audience, because yeah, you hear that as a non-ag person, we're like, well, that's bullshit. You know, why is the government subsidizing your insurance? Well, Logan and I generally agree, kind of is bullshit. Like,
yeah,
but they do that, and it's hard. I mean, like you just said, you got to be that independently wealthy person to just say, no, I don't want the subsidies. Because when the other 99.9% of,
it's hard to be competitive.
Yeah, and it is like other farmers are your competitors. You're competing with them for ground to rent, for share of the market. You know, I mean, when they're, you know, if they're able to, 80% of their crop insurance is subsidized by the government, and you're like, oh no, I'll just pay for 100% of mine. Well, then you can't, that's not a level playing field for you. And so it's, and that's where we come at it from definitely the more libertarian side of us, is that, if we could snap our fingers and take the government out of all of it, it may be weird there for a few years till the dust settled. You let the markets kind of sort themselves out and figure out, okay, well, this is what all the prices of everything really should be without the government getting their hand in there. Yeah. Because I'm fully convinced that one of the main reasons they want is because they can hang that over your head. Now they like you just said, they got your nuts in a vice, because they can always and there's not a farmer out there other than maybe just some really odd, unique case where they can just say totally piss on the government.
Well, see, when we got in trouble for that tillage, they sent us a fine.
And you can't, and it's not even like you just tell them to piss off. If you even try to fight it, they put the screws to you.
Well, that's what happened in that case. Because
even if you think you're in the right, you're like, no, we didn't do anything wrong. Like, even even playing by your rules, but if you even try to fight it, that they
oh yeah,
totally
it
put
was
the screws to you.
It was going to be, because that's how we found out.
They make it where, like, even as bitter a pill as it is to swallow, even when you know you're in the right, you're just better off paying it, because they're gonna screw you every other way imaginable.
See, they fined us $10,000, and see, and here's the whole deal was crappy. I had bought this farm. The guy that was farming it when I bought it was mad that I had bought it, but it was online. Like I didn't like go root this farm out from underneath him. It was listed online. It had been listed for like 2 years. So hell, he should have bought the farm. And so I bought the farm. Well, they're supposed to send you a letter and let you know that your farm is going to be checked. Like, you're supposed to get a letter in advance and say, we're doing a tillage check. And they sent the letter, but they sent it to the other guy that used to be farming it. Well, he just chunked it in the trash, and he never said anything to us about it. We did not go up and check on the plan, which I'm sure a ton of farmers don't do that, but we didn't go up and check on the plan. So we did some tillage. We didn't even till the whole farm. We just tilled like the rough areas. And and it needed it bad. And to add a caveat, the guy before me had been tilling the shit out of it every year. He had just never been checked. And so we tilled that. Well, then we never get a letter. We have absolutely no clue. And then one day, one of the guys from NRCS calls my dad, and he's like, hey, man, y'all are in trouble. And he was like, what are you talking about? And he said, y'all got checked for the tillage, and you had tilled it. And so he said, man, they're going to fine you $10,000. And Dad was like, well, that's bullshit. We didn't know anything about this. And he's like, well, they sent out a letter. And Dad was like, we haven't seen the letter. And that's how they found out. They had sent it to the other guy, but they were like, well, it don't matter. You still violated the plan. And so Dad was like, well, that's horse shit. We're going to fight this. And he said, man, you can. He was like, you can try to fight it. But he said, I'll tell you what they're going to do. He said, they're going to call all of your loans. And he said they're going to make you pay back your subsidies. And so, you're talking.
Well, see, and that's what pisses me off. Like that, yeah, that's why one of a billion reasons why the government just needs to be out of it entirely. And I know that to some people that may sound hypocritical, because we're sitting here and like, yeah, we take the subsidies. I have pasture PRF insurance. It's heavily subsidized by the but it's like, they're giving away the money. Like, hell yeah, if everybody else is taking it.
My taxes are going into that same pot.
Oh, you're damn right. Yeah, I pay a shit. I pay a hell of a lot more in than I get back out.
Yeah,
but it's I don't know. That the government isn't doing those things out of the goodness of their heart. It's so that then they can control everything.
Yeah.
And, like you said, there was so many nuances to that case. There was a really good interview Rob Sharkey did one time with a guy, and this guy, but it turns out he was an attorney and worked for a pretty big firm, and their family, it had to do with putting in drainage tile on some ground that they, NRCS or whatever, came back and was like, well, that was wetlands y'all were draining. And they were like, no way in hell. But they were gonna, and they fought it. But he said, what was bad? He's like, a normal person could have never fought it.
Yeah.
It was just
because he was a lawyer.
Because like they would win, and then like they would then try to sue him on something else. And it was just like, he was like, there's no way a farmer, because obviously, he wasn't incurring legal fees because he was, his firm was representing him, but he said it would have cost, sorry, I don't have the episode or whatever to send you to of Sharky's, but
so I need to get Emerson to go become a lawyer.
Yeah, and just like John Dutton,
that's right.
Hopefully, you don't want her to totally turn into Beth, but yeah.
But that's true. Yeah, I need to just do that.
It was wild. It was one of those episodes that like I was like mad enough to fight somebody by the time I wanted to. Well, I guess I better not say anything on the record. What I wanted to do to government officials, like when you're like, why do they want to be like that? Because then at the end of the day, you're like, there's people like in our local office that like could have stood up, and I feel like, and maybe I just don't understand how deep bureaucracy and whatever goes, that could have been like, guys, this is bullshit. Like,
Yeah.
we ain't gonna do this to these boys. That they did nothing wrong. Like, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't work like that. But
I don't think it does, because that's how, I mean,
but you'd like to think there's somebody in that office that
you would,
or somewhere to be like, yeah, this is probably not like they weren't doing anything. Like, this is totally a deal where the previous farmer had effed things up and kind of sabotaged them by not sharing the letter with them and everything else.
Oh yeah, and he was happy about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he was mad. I mean, like I said, he actually called our cousin thinking he was the one that bought the place, told him he was going to come kick his ass for buying the farm.
That's wild to me.
And I told that guy, I told our cousin, when I found out, I told them to tell him that he knows where to find me.
Yeah.
I said, he might kick my ass, but he ain't going to feel very good the next day either. I ain't going to just step aside. But yeah, I mean, it was crazy, man. So, I mean, I guarantee you, he probably had a hard on when he found out what happened to us.
You think he made some calls to get it checked?
We always kind of wondered if he might have not done something like, hey, these guys they're violating the plan. Like, we always kind of wondered. I mean, he's a shitty farmer, so I mean, it comes back on him.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But yeah, it is what it is, man. But Lance, that was we got way off of the trackhoe. But I would encourage you to check out Ag Direct Farm Credit. If you can make something work with them, it's good. And it is beneficial to set up. I mean, like Bobby Lee said, our guy at Farm Credit, man, he's as much my friend as he is my financial advisor. Like, I call him about anything. And
the short answer to your question is piss on the government, find another lender.
Yes, yeah, just don't even bother.
I say that kind of joking.
I don't even really say it joking at this point.
Serious, yeah.
Yeah, like, and I'll also tell you another thing. Check out, kind of search around for your local banks. Like, we've got a really good, and I'll give them a shout out. I mean, shout out Farm Credit. So Bank of Tipton up here, the guy I deal with up there, he actually used to farm, and he farms a little bit again now. And I mean, I could call him on the phone. I could call him right now and be like, hey, there's a combine I'm looking at. It's 100.
Probably not right now. It's almost 11.
He would probably be like, why are you calling me? He wouldn't answer now. He'd call me in the morning and be like, man, you know damn well I'm asleep at that time. But I could call him and be like, man, I'm looking at a combine or looking at a tractor. It's $100,000, but this is what it is. I want it. I need it. And he'd be like, all right, go ahead and write a check for it and we'll get you set up. I mean, like, it's that, like, they still operate.
Yeah. Dealing with those type of lenders, they've got a lot more freedom to be quick and flexible than.
Well, and I'll tell you a kind of a little trick of the trade here. You don't want to do this forever, because you're going to end up paying way more than what it costs. But when you deal with some of those kind of the more home style type banks like that, they can set up a program where it's essentially a bridge loan. Like, you have a 1-year loan and you have an interest rate set. I mean, and it might be 6% interest, but you have it set where at the end of the year, as long as you pay the interest, you restart that loan the next year. Now, obviously, you don't want to only pay the interest, because you would you never get ahead. But the good thing with that is, if you have some catastrophic year, rather than paying a $15,000, $20,000 note, as long as you can cover like a $5,000 cost of interest, you are going to keep your machine and you get to start it back again the next year. So there's little things you can do. And, Farm Credit, I love them. They cannot do that. Like, cause I had a combine on a program like that, and our guy at Farm Credit multiple times was like, I wish you would let me take that off of there. And I'm like, I said, can you do this kind of loan? He was like, well, no, I can't do that. And I'm like, then I'm not doing it. And so there is you check out some of your local banks.
Shop it around. Yeah.
Yeah. But
everybody's situation is unique to them. And then you may have connections with a local bank that give you an edge that, some of the others of us might not have. So
yeah, that's that's pretty much it. Lance, I appreciate your question. And anybody watching, please leave us or go and submit a question to us, talkdirtpodcast.com, and go to our contact page, I believe is what it's called, listed as, and you can find there, you can submit a question. You can send one to us on our Instagrams or whatever.
Instagram's probably the place for either of us to reach one of us directly. I've gotten a couple of questions on Facebook, maybe not necessarily to the podcast lately. And if you reach out to me on Facebook, I apologize. I will probably see it sometime within a few months, but I'm not on that platform ever.
Yeah.
It takes my wife saying, you've got a message on Facebook. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I have to use her phone because I don't even have the app. And then they're like, oh, okay. Yeah, we'll respond like this.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah.
Instagram's a better option.
Instagram is, even for me, like I'm pretty active on Facebook as well, but Instagram is still the much better option. I've had some people reach out to me on there, but yeah, we never really know sometimes where these episodes are going to go, because I had kind of said we might do some origin on our stuff with Talk Dirt to Me, but man, that turned into a pretty good episode in and of itself.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, I don't even know what all we talked about.
Yeah.
I just blacked out for like an hour.
Yeah. Well, and it's our time for our segment.
So here I've got it. Let me
start off with 2 words. Made in America.
Here we go.
So this is for our Living Fully Loaded crowd, we do a Made in America segment at the end where we highlight a brand and a product or so that we really like, and we like to, we're fans of the Made in America. So, the 2 words, like Biden said, Made in America, those 2 words. I got the company tonight, I guess. I got a pretty good one, I feel like. And I'm thinking maybe you have a product of theirs. If you don't, you need to get one.
All right.
EOTech. Have you ever used any of their stuff?
So I'm very familiar with them. I don't think that I actually have anything.
Really? Well, I got to looking. Since 1996, they've been designed, developed, and made in America.
Okay.
And they are bad to the bone. I got one of their holographs on one of my ARs. And
so yeah, they make all kinds of, is it just optics primarily, or?
Yeah, well, yeah. And they got, they've gotten into rifle scopes too. They got the Voodoo series that I think is actually more of their rifle scopes. But, man, they're
optics for firearms.
Yes. And they've got an awesome coffee cup. Like I just shared, actually, I ordered a coffee cup from them. It's got the holograph on it.
Yes, I saw you put that.
Dude, when you dump coffee in it, the red dot shows up.
Yeah, like you've turned it on.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
That is pretty sweet.
So EOTech, I mean, and they're like, I think the military, a lot of them uses them. They're battlefield proven, as would be, I guess, the word for it. And so, I mean, if it's good enough for our soldiers overseas, I feel like it'd be good enough for me here in the shit hits the fan kind of scenario.
Yeah, probably so. If it's good enough for the government, it's good enough for us, right?
That's true. And I mean, and it's like the SEALs, I think, are running EOTechs and stuff.
Yeah.
At times. So, I mean, they're like, there's not much spared on their budget. So if they're running that, I'm okay with it. I think that they're all right. So check out EOTech. I can preach to it. One of the cool things was when I put it on my AR, it was zeroed out the box. Like, I don't know if that's common, but like I put it on there, mounted it on the Picatinny, and it was absolutely dialed in before I did anything.
Yeah. I'll check them out.
Yeah. Yeah, you won't be disappointed. I mean, the price tag's pretty hefty on them, but optics, especially when you get into firearms and things like that, optics are, I mean, you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
And I mean, the way I look at it, an AR for me, I mean, the one that I've got this gun on, it's like, if something seriously went down, that's the gun I'm grabbing. And I want an optic on there. I don't want,
you don't want something made in China that you bump it one time and all of a sudden
it's off or broken. Yeah. And I'm like,
you don't want to wound a zombie.
No, you don't want to wound a zombie, and you don't want to be, like, that's what I think about. Like, if you're in the worst possible scenario, would you feel better with like a $50 NC Star optic, or would you feel better with like a $600 EOTech? I think I'm going to probably feel a lot better with that EOTech.
Yeah.
So there you go, guys. Check them out. EOTech, they're awesome.
Yeah. And if a zombie's eating your face off, that extra $500 you saved isn't going to do you any good.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. When that moment happens, what's money going to be worth anyway?
Yeah, you're going to be like, well, damn, I wish that $500 I still got in my pocket was invested in a better sight on my gun, and I'd be sitting here still my entire face.
Yeah, while you're bleeding out on the ground.
I wouldn't be infected.
Yeah, before you turn and start eating some brains. Guys, thank you for tuning in. Living Fully Loaded crowd, appreciate y'all. Leave us a rating and a review if you enjoyed this. We'll be back next week with the regular one, but I thought this would be fun, kind of do some cross promotion. I urge you, if you enjoyed this, check out Talk Dirt to Me. It's also a weekly podcast, and
vice versa. Yeah, it's the Talk Dirt to Me crowd.
Yeah,
check out Living Fully Loaded.
Check it out. It's very much similar style, very unedited, raw, and yeah, guys, leave us a rating and a review if you're watching or listening, and hit that like button, hit the subscribe if you're watching. That's all I got.
Sounds good to me.
Y'all take care.